Hello, American Patriots. Are you a supporter of the Second Amendment? Are you a responsible gun owner? If so, then you know the day will come that you're going to need a trusted and qualified gunsmith. When that day arrives, I want you to contact the man that I trust with my weapons, Mr. Delaney Jackson, owner of Jumpin, a gunsmith and appraisal. Besides being a professional gunsmith, Delaney is a true American patriot. And, a little trivia for you, he's also the manager and guitar player for country music legend Mr. Mark Chestnut. So when the time arrives, take your weapons to the man who treats my weapons like they're his own, my trusted friend, Mr. Delaney Jackson at Jumpin' Jack's Gunsmith and Appraisal. Contact information and website information is in the description of this video below. Thank you and God bless.
I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, American Patriots, and welcome to another episode of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. I have been off for the past week and a half, as many of you have noticed, dealing with some health issues. I'm feeling pretty good right now, although the show will be shorter than normal tonight because, well, I'm still dealing with a little bit of things that I'm not going to go into at the moment. But anyhow, wow, I don't even know where to begin other than to say that here we are once again looking at war across the globe. And it's a crying ass shame that we're where we're at right now. And once again, an administration that has abandoned Americans behind enemy lines, just like we did in Afghanistan. At least we attempted in Afghanistan. I give the Biden administration a little bit of kudos for that. We attempted to evacuate people, Americans, and boy, was it a blotched job. Well, with this current situation with Ukraine, there's not even an attempt made. None. Matter of fact, they had months and months and months to do something, knowing this day would come that Russia would invade Ukraine. They've made no secret about this at all. It's been something that's been brewing for quite some time. Yet, this administration puts out warnings to Americans that are over there that you better get out. And even went as far as to say that we will not be conducting any type of military evacuation. None. And we didn't. And as I speak tonight, there are hundreds already, soon to be thousands, of innocent men, women, and children slaughtered by Soviet forces. Now, it is a little bit of a blessing that there have already been some Russian forces tonight that have surrendered to Ukrainian forces because they didn't know what they were up there to do. They were under the assumption, as Putin has put out for quite some time, that it was basically just training exercises. They don't want to kill their countrymen. And that's what Ukraine is. It used to be part of the Soviet Union. And then when the wall fell and the Soviet Union collapsed, different countries broke off. Well, Putin is trying to bring that all back. He wants to take back over everything that the original Soviet Union lost. And that's his game plan. Well, that pits their military against their own people. A lot of people in the Soviet military have family and friends that are Ukrainians that live in Ukraine and the surrounding areas. It'd be like, for instance, let's take the state of Texas, which has said many times that they will, or at least thinking about seceding from the Union and coming up with their own country because they're sick of watching what our government is doing. Let's say that they actually pulled that off. And it's a possibility, trust me. But let's say they did. And Texas became its own country. And then an administration decides that, you know what, we don't like that. And they activate our military to go in and start shelling, attacking, bombing Dallas, Texas, Austin, San Antonio, Houston, American forces killing Americans. That's what's happening right now with Russia and Ukraine. Now, how many forces are not going to do this? Who knows? It may be just what happened today. Because we do know that, because we've seen the videos, you know, there are reporters on the ground over there. Hell, there's even some Hollywood actors over there. Sean Penn's over there to do a documentary on what's happening. And we know that there is a heavy bombardment taking place. And they're attacking capital cities. Thankfully, since the Cold War ended, and right now we're looking at Cold War 2.0 again, but since it had ended, Russia, for the most part, their military might shrunk drastically because they didn't have the money that was needed to operate and maintain their submarines, their naval ships, their aircraft, all across Russia is abandoned airfields and planes and even ships and submarines and ports that used to be mighty that are no longer. And we've seen since the fall of the Soviet Union the tragic accidents that have happened with Russian military aircraft crashing, submarines, nuclear powered submarines sinking. But since Putin has been in charge, he has funneled lots of money to rebuilding this military. And regardless of how much it has or hasn't been rebuilt, you know, I mean, I personally believe, from just my knowledge, from being a retired military person, I do believe that an all-out conventional conflict with superpowers, or let's say American military against Soviet military, we would win hands down. But that's not what would happen. Why? Because they have nuclear weapons just like we do. Which puts us right back into the Cold War all over again. Something that President Ronald Reagan, outstandingly did. He put an end to that. He stopped it. And now tonight, if there is a heaven, and my faith tells me there is, he's looking down on this mess going, what the hell? And the saddest part is it's not like nobody knew. I've been talking about this for quite some time now. So I've been asked numerous times, what could have been done different? Just like people ask me, some of you, with the Afghanistan withdrawal, what could have been done different? What would a Republican president have done, for instance? Now, let me first say that, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that if Donald Trump was president today, he'd have done anything different than what's happening right now, because I don't know. None of us know what he would have done. I do know that he said some things recently in the past 24 hours that is quite alarming. But all that aside, we knew this was happening. We knew this was coming. And so my personal thoughts, and I wasn't a general in the military, I was a non-commissioned officer, I was a staff sergeant, promotable to E7 to make sergeant first class when I was injured, and therefore that stops all promotions. But if, let's just say I was Secretary of Defense, or a member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, or if I was the president, what would I have done differently? And I assure you that if you ask this same question that I'm about to answer to anyone that served in the military, they would tell you exactly what I'm going to tell you, especially if they served during the Cold War era. If we would have put American forces on the ground in Ukraine to start conducting joint training exercises with the Ukrainian military, and just that, they didn't have to do much. Just the fact that they were there, and a decent sized force, I don't know, the 18th Airborne Corps, the 82nd Airborne Division, or the 101st Airborne, put them there on the ground. And I'd be willing to bet my last breath that there's not a snowball chance in hell that Putin would have sent forces into Ukraine. Why? Because American forces could have been killed, and then it would have been over with. Well, under this administration, I don't know that it would have been over with, because weakness is showing its ugly face right now. And it's not just weakness on Biden's part, it's weakness on the Republicans' part too, and members of Congress and the Senate. I've heard so many things come out of both sides in the past 2 days that it's just sickening. But we didn't do that. We didn't attempt to evacuate Americans. And there's thousands of them over there. Some that live there, some that, that were, living in the Soviet Union before the wall fell. There's some that are contractors, construction companies, all types of businesses that have gone in there to help build that country up since the fall of the Soviet Union. And we didn't do anything. We didn't do anything to get them out. I want to believe, I really do want to believe that at least one, if not all, of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and time will tell, we will know, history will show, did they tell Joe Biden we should put boots on the ground? That's the only way to stop this from happening. Should have done that a year ago, literally. As soon as Biden took office, what happened around the world? With North Korea, with China, with Iran, the Taliban, Al Qaeda. They're all looking at weakness. It's staring them in the face. It's outright frightening. They all watched the debacle that took place in Afghanistan. And they watched that evacuation go to hell in a handbasket. They watched an American president leave Americans behind to die at the hands of the Taliban. They watched as we surrendered to those that were responsible for attacking us on 9/11. And I warned then that this is not going to be good. These rogue countries with these horrible dictators, they're no dummies, but they're watching dummies that are running the shit show right now in Washington, D.C. And again, I'm not just talking about Democrats. I'm talking about some of these rhinos up there in Washington, D.C., Republicans that should not be anywhere near being in charge of anything. Not even a dog catcher. Now, I don't want to offend dog catchers. I actually know a dog catcher. But the point I'm making is that this is insane. It's absolutely insanity. I don't know of any time in our history where we willingly and knowingly left Americans behind in a country that was going to be taken over, and we knew it, to die. It's sad. And that's exactly what we've done. And there ain't a damn thing we can do about it now. Nothing. I hear some big talk from Republicans and even some Democrats about how we need to go kick the Russians' ass. A lot of liberals talking about this shit too. We should just take our military forces and go wipe them off the face of the earth. Anyone that thinks that doesn't know anything about the Cold War, doesn't know anything about nuclear weapons and what it's capable of doing. A war between America and Russia would be the end of civilization. That is a fact. Because one side or the other is going to launch a nuclear weapon. And then it's over with. It's going to be hundreds of them launched. I mean, right now, we have North Korea becoming a nuclear power, and we're not doing shit to stop them. They're capable right now of hitting our West Coast. Once they find a way to put a nuclear warhead on our ICBM, I don't want to be living on the West Coast. Nowhere on the West Coast. We have Iran. It's already said, once we're capable of putting a nuclear weapon on one of our ICBMs, that's it. We're taking Israel off the face of the earth. And America too. That's some pretty headstrong and horrible rhetoric. There are some crazy people throughout our history that have been in charge of governments and countries. And we're seeing that now. A lot of it now. And as someone that was in the Cold War, and served during that period, I assure you, this is not where we want to be today. But because of weakness, we are. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what tomorrow holds anymore. Because our leaders are incompetent. And it's going to get us killed. And that's not good. So let's talk a little bit about how out of touch with reality there are right now with this administration. President Biden's climate czar. You all know who he is, right? John Kerry? Yeah. He warned that Russia's war against Ukraine could distract the world from the climate change crisis and produce massive emissions that will negatively impact the globe. Climate change. Russia is attacking Ukraine and killing men, women, and children, innocent people. And this son of a bitch in our administration is worried about climate change. That's batshit crazy. I'm concerned about Ukraine because of the people of Ukraine and because of the principles that are at risk in terms of the international law and trying to change boundaries of international law by force. Kerry, the U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, said in an interview Monday on BBC Arabic reported Wednesday, "I thought we lived in a world that had said no to that kind of activity. And I hope the diplomacy will win, but it could have a profound negative impact on the climate, obviously." No shit. Because, if a nuclear warhead gets launched, guess what, Joe and John Kerry? Your climate don't exist anymore. You have a war, and obviously you're going to have massive emissions consequence of the war. Well, maybe Russia, I don't know, maybe they have clean burning tanks now. Possibly. Maybe they cleaned up maybe they found a different form of energy. Maybe their tanks and all their artillery and their aircraft are burning on electric or batteries. But equally important, you're going to lose people's focus, he said. You're going to lose certainly big country attention because they will be diverted, and I think it could have a damaging impact on the climate. So, I think hopefully President Putin would realize that in the northern part of the country, they used to live on 66% of the nation that was over frozen land. Now it's thawing. And his infrastructure is at risk. And the people of Russia are at risk. And so I hope President Putin will help us to stay on track with respect to what we need to do for the climate. Kerry, who has faced criticism for his own impact on climate change, made similar comments this past Sunday, when he told GZERO Media's Ian Berman that a Russian invasion of Ukraine will have a monumental impact on the ability and willingness of the people to do what's necessary to curb emissions, and it will be very tough for the climate agenda. There's no question about it. Kerry's made the comment before Russian forces invaded Ukraine on Thursday by land, air, and sea in the largest military attack on one state against another on the European continent since World War II. Climate change. People are dying, you dumb shits, in this current administration. Do you think for one split second that Putin gives two shits about our climate? Do you think the Ukrainian people right now are thinking, oh no, don't attack us because look at the damage it's going to do to the climate? But this administration is thinking that way. And when you fail at leadership and the world watches what you did in Afghanistan and now what you're doing with Russia and Ukraine, or not doing, other countries start rearing their head. And it starts getting more and more dangerous. For instance, Taiwan scrambled its Air Force Thursday as 9 Chinese aircraft entered the island's National Air Defense Zone, the Taiwan Ministry of Defense announced. A fleet of 8 J-16 fighters and a YUN-8 technical reconnaissance aircraft breached the airspace. The Taiwan aircraft broadcast a warning and monitored the Chinese fleet's activities. China has done this in the past, a couple of months ago, and has done similar type of events regularly. The Defense Department spokesman said the Pentagon is aware of the reporting and that the U.S. remains concerned by proactive military action near Taiwan. The United States will continue to support a peaceful resolution of cross-strait issues, consistent with the wishes and best interests of the people of Taiwan, the spokesman said, stressing that such action is destabilizing and undermines regional peace and stability. Our commitment to Taiwan is rock solid and contributes to the maintenance of peace and stability across the strait and within the region. That's just a bunch of fucking words. That's what that is. That means we're not going to do shit. The last such incursion occurred on January 23rd when 39 Chinese aircraft flew into the defense space. But the new flyby occurs at a time of heightened tensions. Taiwan increased its alert levels as Russia launched a full-scale invasion on Ukraine Thursday, local time. China criticized the move by saying Taiwan is not Ukraine. Chinese Defense Ministry spokesman Tan Kaziva stressed that Taiwan has a core issue for China and it would tolerate no foreign interference. We urge the U.S. side to recognize the high sensitivity of the issue, stop interfering in China's internal affairs, and stop playing with fire. And China appeared to stress that coverage of Russia's invasion could play into helping solve the issue once and for all. Horizon News, a social media outlet belonging to Beijing News, appeared to accidentally post the instructions for Chinese media coverage Wednesday in a post that was later deleted. The instructions noted that no post unfavorable to Russia or with pro-Western content would be published. And the Washington Post broke that. China and Russia are now like this. They've been that way for a while. You know, it's the same people that brought us the pandemic. It's the same people that are involved in cyber attacks against America infrastructure. So, what's the Department of Justice have to say about it? You ready for this? The Department of Justice announced yesterday that it is ending its China incentive program that was aimed at preventing spying by the Chinese Communist Party, and launched a new, broader approach. The China Initiative was started in 2018 under the Trump administration to protect U.S. national security against Chinese spying on the U.S. The Department of Justice website said it was aimed at identifying and prosecuting those engaged in trade secret theft, hacking, and economic espionage, as well as protecting our critical infrastructure against external threats through foreign direct investment and supply chain compromises. The program is coming to an end. In its place, the Department of Justice is instituting a new strategy for countering nation-state threats. Our goal with this strategy is to take a comprehensive approach that draws on the full extent of our tools and authorities to address the alarming rise in illegal activity from hostile nations. Assistant Attorney General Matthew Olson of the Department of Justice and National Security Division said, "This includes growing threats within the United States and to America and U.S. businesses abroad." Olson said the current threat landscape demands a broader approach and cites not just China, but Iran, Russia, and North Korea. These nations seek to undermine our core democracy, economic, and scientific institutions, he continued, and they employ a growing range of tactics to advance their interests and to harm the United States. So they're admitting it. They're admitting what I'm telling you, that China's a bad partner here. They're not on our side. Defending America's institution and values against these threats is a national security and the priority for the department. Olson insisted that the new approach does not mean that the agency is losing sight of the threat China poses. Make no mistake, we will be relentless in defending our country from China, Olson said. Really? Like we're relentless with Russia invading Ukraine? Like we're relentless with the Taliban taking over Afghanistan? That kind of relentless? The Department of Justice had been conducting a review of the China Initiative, and changes were expected. So why make these changes? The answer is political correctness, my friends. The Department of Justice was concerned that the old program that Trump put into place stoked anti-Asian bias at the receiving input from Asian American communities. Attorney General Merrick Garland and the Biden administration have been under pressure from activists and facilities such as universities over the effort. They said it was harming U.S. competitions and research and disproportionately targeting people based on race. Protesters stood outside the Department of Justice last month, saying the initiative unfairly targeted Chinese professors. And nearly 200 Yale professors recently signed a letter to Garland asking him to end the initiative that Trump put in place. A former Justice Department official laminated the U.S. stopping fighting for the China Initiative on January 20th, 2021, the day President Biden took office. The former official told Fox News China was successful in framing the issue as one of racial bias and that the U.S. stopped trying to counter this. We give up. We gave up. You know, the campaign or the champagne corks will be popping in China offices. They won't. They won the disinformation campaign, the officials said. Also acknowledged that part of why they're ending the China Initiative was the mere perception of of the type of bias undermines our work, Olson said, despite not finding evidence of such bias in his review of the program. So it's all about the fact that Trump did it. We have to reverse it. They're our enemy. China is not our friend and has not been for a long, long time. And now that they see that we have a weak administration with what happened in Afghanistan and what's happening in Ukraine with Russia, they're going to go take over Taiwan. You watch, mark my words for it. They're going to invade, and we're not going to do a damn thing about it. Nothing. Because we have weak leaders. The FBI spokesman said China remains a priority. However, the threat from the Chinese government stands apart. No government poses a broader, more severe threat to our ideas, innovation, and economic security than the government of China does. And that's from the FBI. Together with the Department of Justice and our other partners in the U.S. government, the private sector, and around the world, we will remain relentless, countering the Chinese government, a long fight already underway using every lawful weapon at our disposal, one of which will remain our adherence of the rule of law. Left-leaning think tank Byrne Center for Justice argued earlier this year that the incentive should be ended, in part because it hurts the U.S. by scaring away Chinese and Chinese-American scientists. To be clear, China poses a legitimate threat of espionage that the Justice Department and FBI must take seriously. But too often, the Justice Department has brought cases under the China Initiative and have not targeted espionage or intellectual property theft by Chinese spies, but minor administrative violations by scientists of China ancestry who are not suspected of affiliation with the Chinese government. Congress is currently trying to pass legislation to combat China. Though there is significantly disagreement between House Democrats and Senate Democrats about what should be included. Congressional leaders are indicating they hope to reach some sort of compromise in the coming months to get China competition bill to the president's desk. So, our own Department of Justice, which I've been telling you for a long time, are a bunch of weak, pansy-ass little bitches that aren't doing shit to help America. They are hell-bent on going after anyone that was ever associated in any way, shape, or form with former President Donald Trump, while allowing those that we watched testify in front of Congress that committed crimes. We know that. We watched it on C-SPAN, everything that came out of Hillary Clinton's mouth. We watched Hillary Clinton testify several times, not only on just current shit like her email server and deleted emails and bleached bit and taking hammers to cell phones, but also on how she, as Secretary of State, gave over a good portion of things needed for nuclear power to who? Russia. And we watched what happened in Benghazi, and we watched the lies come out of her mouth. We watched that. We saw it. And they got away with it because their Justice Department is too weak to do anything against them. And it just absolutely drives me fucking insane that we're where we're at right now with this whole debacle. So what's going to happen in the coming days and weeks and months? Your guess is as good as mine. What I do know is the last thing we need is a country, or anyone needs as a country on God's earth, is another Cold War. And this administration has dove us deep into another Cold War. And Russia doesn't give two shits about it. In fact, even today, Biden comes out and admits that they knew sanctions weren't going to stop this from happening. And of course, now the press secretary is backtracking and they're all trying to cover up what he said by, oh, that's not what he meant. Oh, no, that's exactly what he meant. Because it's true. Sanctions aren't going to stop them. Not a snowball chance in hell. But here we are, folks. Here we are. It's not World War III yet, as many people on social media are putting out there. It's all over Facebook. It's on YouTube. If I had $1 for every time I saw somebody say something about we're in World War III again, this administration's got us in World War III. No, this isn't World War III yet, but we're that damn close. We're that damn close. Because as soon as Taiwan gets invaded by China, if we do something to stop China, China and Russia band together and attack us. If we try and do anything to Russia for what's happening over in Ukraine, guess what? China and Russia and North Korea and Iran are all going to band together against us in inhumanity as we know it, because they're a bunch of crazy idiots. They're literally insane. We know that. We've seen it. We've heard from their own mouth the things that they've said that are just complete and utter nonsense. And there ain't a damn thing we can do about it right now. And we have a weak leader, and we have weak people in the Pentagon, and we have weak people in the Department of Justice, and we, the people, are stuck with this mess that we don't know how to fix. Anyhow, you had a lot of places you could be tonight, but you chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm sorry for having to cut the show short tonight, but it is what it is. I will continue to get well. And for all those that reached out to us for your thoughts and prayers, I sure do appreciate that. It means a lot to know that so many people that I've never met are concerned about my health and my family's health and everything that we've been through, not just recently, but what we've been through in the past with the hurricanes and the flood and so forth. I would like to talk briefly about the Trump social media platform that launched. You can download the app via the Apple Store if you have Apple products. And soon it's going to be available for Android, but it isn't right now. But it doesn't really matter right now because even those of us that have Apple products can't even get into the site because they had no clue. And I don't know how they thought this, but they didn't know this many people were going to jump ship from places like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube to want to be a part of this Truth Social. How they didn't know that is beyond me. But so many people have immediately tried to get into their platform that it's crashing it constantly. And now they're trying to find a way to get the program, the platform up and running properly to where they can, we can all go there and we can be done with Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and any left socialist, communist fucking bullshit from social media that we have to put up with. Now, I could give two shits that the fact that Trump started it. I'm just happy that somebody started it. How much Trump is going to be involved with this, I don't know. His money put it up. He's got a lot of problems right now, folks. For those of you that are, if you're not paying attention to what's happening with this January 6th insurrection, Nancy Pelosi witch hunt that's happening, they're going after Trump everywhere they possibly can, even more so now because they know midterms are coming up and they know that there ain't a chance in hell that Biden's ever going to be reelected again. And without feeling that way, they're afraid Trump's going to run again. So we've got district attorneys in places like New York that are going after him for all kinds of shit, going after his the Trump organization. And here's the scary part. They're winning. That's right. It's went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, some of the justices that he appointed have basically turned against him. And they're not protecting him. So I don't know what all Trump did or didn't do. And I don't know how much of any of this is true or not true anymore. It's so all over the place, no matter who you listen to. Whether it's Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, conservatives, Democrats, liberals, I can assure you I'm just going to believe it like this. There ain't a politician out there that I trust. None. Republican or Democrat. They're all have their own little agenda in some way, shape, or form. And I've seen it way too much where we put our faith and our hope in some of these people. And then they get up to Washington, D.C., and they don't give two shits about us. They just don't. And that's scary. So more will come. We will see as we go through the next, like I said, days, weeks, and months, what all is going to unfold for us as Americans and for our country and for the world. But I will say this much. Pray for peace, please, because we're staring down the barrel of a shotgun that's got nuclear weapons attached to it. And that shit's not good, friends. Trust me, it's not good. And just a split second, the world as we know it could end. And that's scary, and I hope that we don't ever get there. Anyhow, if you haven't already done so, please go to DouglasDucote.com, check out our website. Also, please subscribe to this channel and come back and check often because YouTube unsubscribes people on a regular basis. In fact, 1,000 people every 28 days get unsubscribed from this channel because they don't want to hear my voice. Why they don't just delete the channel, I don't know. Why do it this way? But that's what they do, and that's what's happening. And once something better is out there, YouTube and Facebook and Twitter can go suck it because I don't want nothing to do with them ever again. I hope that Trump Social is the answer, but I also thought Rumble was going to be the answer, and it's not. I thought some of these other platforms that I belong to, that I'm on, you can look in the description of the video or the description of all my videos, and it'll show you where you can find me on different social media platforms. And I thought for sure that some of them were going to be the right thing for us conservatives and Republicans or anybody to go to that wants to get, exercise our constitutional free speech rights. And that's not happening. Even on Trump Social, we know for a fact recently there's been, and I'm sure you heard it, there's been some people that have been banned that have already got their profiles out there. There's been some people that are raising hell about it. Republicans, conservatives that are saying, "Oh, look, this ain't a free speech platform after all." Well, if you look at the fine print on what they said, I'm not even going to really go into that right now because there's more to come with that. But basically, they're threatening people's lives. And one of them recently said that everybody that was responsible for the vaccine, we should execute them. And that's not free speech, my friends. When you start calling for violence, that's not free speech. No. You can say, hey, I wish our justice system would do something to them, or I wish they would look into this, or I wish they would be charged. But and this particular person, which I'm not going to name names right now, but I'm sure in the future I'll do a video about, said some other crazy rhetoric and tried to say that there are thousands of children dying from the vaccine. And that's not happening at all. There are people, yes, that are being injured because of heart conditions or because their immune system is compromised or because, the vaccine is doing things to for young people to enlarge the heart or cause rhythm incidents with the heart. And yes, there have been some people that have died, but to say that hundreds of thousands of children are dying because of this, that's not true. It's fake news. And this is a conservative that said it. And then to say that they should be executed. And so, yeah, they got banned. They got kicked off because you can't say that shit. All right? That's not free speech. You can't yell fire in a movie theater. You can't threaten somebody's life. Well, if you're a Democrat, like, I don't know, Maxine Waters, you can. But conservatives and Republicans, we know better than that shit. And don't do it. All right? So, yes, there's going to be censorship on Trump Social or Truth Social or whatever you want to call it. Of course there's going to be. There has to be. All right? But when people talk about things that are not damning against our constitutional rights, then this platform should be a place where you're allowed to express those views, where you can't do that on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook, because they will ban you and shut you down. We know that. It's happening every day. It's happened to me before. All right. So anyhow, that's that. Thank you again for joining me tonight. I hope you all have a blessed weekend. And I plan to be back next Monday with another show. If anything happens that I feel I need to do a video about and share with you all between now and then, I will. But other than that, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, our angel families, our blue and gold star families in our country. And while we're at it, pray for the people of Ukraine and the Ukrainian military, and even the people of Russia and the Russian military. Pray that more of them will surrender to Ukrainian forces or just drop their arms and walk away, because they're being asked, actually they're being ordered to attack their own countrymen. That's what this amounts to. And that's pretty damn bad. Thank you. God bless you all. And I'll see you again next Tuesday. Thank you for being here. God bless you. Take care.